Hey guys, welcome back to Clover Knows Pets. I'm Clover and today I'm going to be talking about leopard geckos. I see a lot of people looking at leopard geckos in pet stores like Petco. And they seem like they're mostly little kids thinking that they're going to get these easygoing pets because they're cute and stuff. But, I mean, they're more than that. They're not just these cute little trinkets. They're living beings that you have to take care of. So, today I'm going to be talking about should you get a leopard gecko. Alright, let's get started. So first of all, it's probably important to know that I own 2 leopard geckos. This is Snow. She is technically my sister's leopard gecko, but my sister's 3, so I care for her, hold her more often, set up enclosures. I did all the research on her, that sort of thing. And then my leopard gecko, Pumpkin. So Pumpkin, I think, is Tangerine, but she's still a baby. He's still a baby. So, or not baby, but young one. So he hasn't gotten all his spots and stuff. So, Pumpkin actually has a pretty sad story of how I got her, and that kind of ties in to this. So I really suggest that you watch the video Pumpkin's story, which I'll be uploading very soon. It's pretty much how we got Pumpkin, where she is, like, how she is now, and pretty much all about her. And if people seem to like that video, I will also do a video on Snow's story, but Snow's story isn't that great. It's mostly us going to a pet store, PetSmart, never buy from PetSmart or Petco, and getting them, so I mean it's not that exciting, but I'm definitely doing Pumpkin's story. And as you can see, they always look like they're smiling and they're super adorable. And after a bit, I'm still sort of taming Pumpkin, so if you touch her back a lot or something, she'll move a bunch, but Snow, she's really tame. So, yeah. Alright, let's get into the video. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to talk about is availability, because I know for me, if I were to get an animal and the only animal there was like 50 miles away, I wouldn't be getting the animal at all. So, leopard geckos, on the other hand, you can find them pretty much anywhere, at pretty much any pet store, again. But I recommend adopting because there are a lot of leopard geckos out there that need to be adopted. We adopted Pumpkin. She was more of a rescue, though. And so, we did get Snow from the pet store, though. But if you're going to get one, I think the best option is to get, to adopt one, or you could buy from a breeder if there's a breeder around you, or as long as it's not Petco or PetSmart, you could buy from a pet store. And so, yeah. You may be wondering what other pet stores there are. Just local pet stores around you are like pretty much, to me they're a given, but I mean, you could also go to Pet Supplies Plus. I've never actually checked out that store, so I wouldn't actually personally recommend it. I don't know if it's a good store or how they care for their animals, but I've heard it's good. But I mean, I've also heard that Petco's good, and it's definitely not good. Okay, so availability. I'd give them 5 being the best, like super, find them everywhere, and 1 being like it's very rare to find. I'd give them probably 5 because I've never really been to a pet store where they did not sell leopard geckos. And there's a bunch of people everywhere that need their geckos rehomed, or there was rescues, things like that. So that would be a 5 out of 5. The next thing I'm going to talk about is overall like feeding. And to start off, simple answer is if you don't want crickets chirping at you all day and night, you probably don't want a leopard gecko. Now there is other options other than crickets, but they're not as easy to find. So what I do is I feed crickets and mealworms, and I used to feed waxworms, but waxworms are parasites to bees, and when waxworms pupate and then turn into moths, I would release them, but that's meaning that it can be detrimental to the bee population. So I don't do that anymore, and I don't buy waxworms anymore. Waxworms are only treats if you do have waxworms, because they're very high in fat and low in nutrients. So, yeah. You also need to keep in mind that not only do you have to feed your leopard geckos, but then you have to feed your crickets or your mealworms or whatever you use. And then you have to have not only your geckos housed, you don't only have to house your leopard geckos, but you also have to house your feeder insects. And I do want to make a video in the future about like proper housing, because a lot of people put like 50 big crickets in like something like this size, and I just find that terrible, because yeah, the geckos need to eat, but think, in the wild they would be eating any bugs, and if they were to eat a cricket, that cricket would have free roamed the whole area. As far as he could go, he was able to go, and therefore would be healthier, more active, happier. And you may think it's just a cricket, but it's just one cricket, it's just one human, it's just one leopard gecko, it's just one anything. They all deserve the same care, I think. Alright, so I'm just going to show you a quick clip of my mealworm and cricket enclosures. But first I want to show you that this gecko's currently on my arm. Snow's on my arm. Okay, let's show you. Never mind. Now she stops. They will like look at something, and no matter which way you move them, their bodies, they'll keep looking at it. Okay, now let's really go look at it. Alright, so my camera's acting weird for some reason. But, I mean, okay, so right here I have the mealworms. And this is not mold, these are just leaf bits I put in. There's mealworms all around here, and they have their burrows down in the dirt, like that. Then right there, that big thing is an apple slice for them to eat. I have some live moss, a rock, and this substrate is the same substrate I use for the leopard geckos, the hermit crabs, and the crickets, which I'm showing you now. Alright, so this is where the crickets live. I keep them in this big bin, not because I want to breed them or anything, but because I feel, like I said, they need adequate spacing. So in here, I have what used to be live grass, but it all died. I have an apple slice over there. There's water. The water is low and stuff like that on purpose, because they can drown easily. I'm quickly going to flip this hide over. Those are actual clay hides that I made with natural clay, which I use for stuff like that. in the enclosures. I have stakes, eco-earth substrate. They get fresh food every day. And then I have this paper towel roll, which they are all in. And I do want to get some more. They just don't look natural, and I try and make it really natural for them in here. So, yeah. Alright. There is 2 geckos on my arm right now. Just sitting there. So I have this, or well, no, it's on the other side, isn't it? Yeah, I have that right there so that there is air in there. And people always say you need a bunch of ventilation so that it doesn't stink, but when you have a big enough place and like plants and natural stuff and not just plastic ground, they will, they'll be less stinky and you don't really smell it. Alright. So, I have duct tape on the front of this so that it's not see-through and they don't get spooked. And yeah, so they're right there and there. And this is like literally the size of the gecko's enclosure, so it's big enough. Again, 2 leopard geckos on my arm. So, also a thing you want to keep in mind is that if you're going to be, the geckos are on my arm still, just sitting there. If you're going to be owning a leopard gecko, or pretty much any gecko, as far as I know, except for like crested geckos and stuff. It's not a leopard gecko. They will need to be fed live insects, just like I was talking about. So if you're not okay with having larvae and stuff in your house, or having a few crickets escape and you having to grab the crickets with your own hands, stuff like that, a gecko might not be the right thing for you. But still, honestly, I don't really like crickets, which might seem surprising, seeing that I care for them as if they're like pets that I'm owning on purpose as my pets, not as feeder insects. Then I still don't like them when they're bigger, and I do have to feed the bigger ones to the geckos, because if they're too small, they just ignore them. So, yeah. I do have to deal with them. Yeah. I don't really enjoy them, but I do what I have to do to keep the animals happy, so. Alright, the next thing I'm going to talk about is handleability, and obviously, as you can see, after they are tame, like Snow here is, you can touch their back, you can touch their tail, and they don't get freaked out. She just jumped. Trust me, okay? She just jumped. Look at this cute leopard gecko. So, to start off when they're babies, they can be housed in a 10-gallon, which is what Pumpkin is housed in. And as you can see, she does have an adequate amount of space to roam. But keep in reminder that if you have a cat or some sort of predator like that, you will want to keep some sort of thing secure to secure the lid. This lid is actually a slide-on, so it can't be lifted up, but my cats and pretty much any cats can get their claws in this and lift it up. So this tank can't be opened unless you lift this and slide it, so that is safe. And as you can see, like I said, she's a baby and she has a good amount of space, plus she comes out every day, which gives her more time to do things, or more space to do things. And then when they're adults, they need an enclosure a bit bigger. This is a 20-gallon, so 10 gallons more. And like I said, she does have a big enough enclosure. She can walk a good amount of space, and they do get outside of the enclosure every day. You can't fit in there, Snow. That's too small. It's too small for you, isn't it? Yeah. So this is Snow's enclosure. And as you can see, there's a lot of enrichment in both enclosures. A little less, it might seem like a little less in Pumpkin's. I'm still working on figuring out what to do with hers. I want, in a few days, to get some more plants and stuff, but she does have 3 hides. There's a wood hide there, and then a cork log one there, and then she also has a small hide thing here made out of natural clay. She's using eco-earth substrate, and I put some leaves in there, and over here is just a slate rock duct taped to the glass so that this can be a hide. But so as you can see, they do need a lot of enrichment, and when they're older, they do need a good amount of space. Like, I have to use this whole thing for just one gecko, and if you're going to have more than one, you need more space. And if you have cats, you need clips like these. They go like this. And on the sides, you just push these in, and then you clip it on. When you're ready to take it off, you just slide, and then you can open the lid. It comes with 2, 1 for each side. Alright. So for that, you also will need, for heating, a heat pad. I have them, they're under tank heaters, but you could also use the ones made for the side, but they need to be under the tank. There's that one, and you also need your enclosure a bit elevated, so that any extra heat can escape. If not, it can be dangerous because your heat pad itself can overheat, and I've actually had a problem once where it melted on a tank, and it almost caught fire. And that's because I didn't have a good amount of space under here. So, yeah. Aside from heating and stuff, you obviously need their water bowls, and they don't need to be special, just a shallow, not deep water dish works great. You do need to clean it out every day and wipe it down with something. You can't just rinse it out because they get bacteria in their water dishes. Oh my god, is she so cute? But so, you do have to do that. Aside from that, they're pretty easygoing for tank size and care inside. I use eco-earth substrate, I think I said that. But they do also need 3 hides, or 2. 2 is like the least, but it's better if you provide 3. 1 for a hot hide, 1 for a cold hide, and if you are using 3, you should also have 1 of them for a moist hide. But if you do use eco-earth, you will know that it gets moist really easily. So whenever you see your gecko about to shed, just spray down the enclosure, and that works for a moist hide. Also, so if you're doing like a naturalistic enclosure or something, that works fine. So you can also do bioactive setups for them, but that can be a bit harder because they will probably eat some of their isopods, also known as roly-polies, potato bugs, and wood lice. Don't worry, they're not actual lice. But that's pretty much it. And just, I'd give the tanks probably I'd do like 3.5, but I'll say 4 because, I mean, if you don't have enough money to buy all the stuff for it, or you don't want to have to pay extra money for electricity, stuff like for their heat pads and stuff like that, or you don't have enough time to take them out every day or clean out their water dish, that would be a downside, but I mean, aside from that, in space, I'd give that a 4 out of 5. And for the last thing is just overall, I'd give 5 out of 5 because there's not very many downsides to them. So, yeah. Thanks for watching. Hope you liked it. Yeah. Bye.